over the weekend. But our lead this hour coming from the NBA playoffs. And if you were expecting a bonanza of first-round matchups that went down to the wire, you are disappointed. Typically, the opening stanza produces a lot of mismatches, and we had much of that. Blowout city right and left. We had one game that stood out from all the rest, head and shoulders above every other game in the NBA playoffs, and that would be in Boston. The Nets paying a visit. A matchup that in a normal time would have been a conference final, but this, just the opening round of the playoffs, because the Nets were blah during the regular season, and this game was a doozy. If you like first-round NBA basketball, maybe you watched none of it. Maybe you watched all of it. I don't know. So let me fill you in. In a game that had 20 lead changes, now granted, 17 of those were in the first half, Brooklyn storming back. They had a 1-point lead in the final seconds of the game. They're up 114 to 113 until the Celtics then took advantage of a Kevin Durant shot. They were running down the clock, Brooklyn. Durant takes a fadeaway three-pointer from 28 feet out. Wonderful shot, unless it's not. It's only a wonderful shot if he makes it. He didn't make it. And that set the Celtics up. And so the Celtics took the ball down. Jaylen Brown passed to Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart out near the three-point line. And he pretended to shoot the ball, passes it to a wide-open Jason Tatum for a layup at the buzzer. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night. And the Boston Celtics have a 1-0 lead in the opening round series against the Nets. The better story, though, is in the losing locker room. Don't bury the lead, my man. So the Nets stumble late, but Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving, the gift that keeps giving to those of us in sports talk radio. Kyrie doing the tussle with the Celtic fan. Now, he had a sexy stat line, and so people say, well, Kyrie was great. He was wonderful. But, was he ever wonderful with the fans who were razzing him. And Kyrie did not seem to enjoy the back and forth. And we actually have some audio here of Kyrie lamenting the fact that the fans were saying nasty things to him. Can you imagine that? A visiting player, and the fans are giving him the business. So as Warner Wolf would say, let's go to the audio tape. Here's Kyrie explaining his side of the story.
Look, I'm just, where I'm from, I'm used to all these antics and people being close nearby. It's nothing new when I come into this building, what it's going to be like, but it's the same energy they have for me, and I'm going to have the same energy for them. And it's not every fan. I don't want to attack every fan, every Boston fan, but, when people start yelling and all this stuff, it's but so much you can take as a competitor. And, we're the ones expected to be docile and be humble and take a humble approach. Nah, that's the playoffs. This is what it is. I know what to expect in here, and it's the same energy I'm giving back to them. It is what it is. I'm not really focused on it. It's fun. You know what I'm saying? And like again, this, where I'm from, I've dealt with so much. So coming in here, you relish it as a competitor. And this, I'm gonna keep repeating myself when I say again, but this isn't my first time in TD Garden. So what you guys saw and what you guys think is as entertainment, or the fans think is entertainment, all is fair in competition. So if somebody's gonna call me out of my name, I'm gonna look at them straight in the eye and see if they really about it. Most of the time, they're not.
All right, so that was Kyrie Irving there, ranting and raving. The part that was bleeped out, let me see, we're in the safe harbor, so I can give you what was bleeped out. He said, when people start yelling the P word, which I think it's often referred to as a pet, a pussycat, the B word, biatch, and then the F word, which I don't think we can say. But if it started with a P, it would be puck. Like a hockey puck. So those were the words that Kyrie claimed the fans of the Celtics were razzing down on him. Now, I love the fact that Irving's taking the approach that he's competing with the fan. That's a new look. He flipped off the Celtic fans at least 3 times that were recorded for posterity's sake via cell phone camera. And as he was walking off the court, he gave some advice to one fan that was heckling him, telling him to do something to his anaconda on the way to the locker room. All right, so let us discuss the question. Would this rant by Kyrie be considered an indictment of Irving? And I am nodding my head. Yes, I've got chow, intertube, and tennis. And we will tie all of these things together, and that will be the bedrock for this MALLER monologue to kick off the new week. So, Kyrie Irving, he used a lot of words. He was very verbose with his speech there. He went over a minute. We normally don't play sound bites that long. But we can sum all of this up in one sentence. Boston fans hurt Kyrie's feelings. Period. Stop. That's a fact. This is a massive W. Massive W for the heckling fan, those that were in attendance there at the Garden on Sunday, and a great tribute to all fans everywhere that you still have it. You can still rattle certain players that are very delicate like Kyrie. And while Kyrie's statistics were fine, he was exerting energy trying to push it back now against the Celtic fans. Now, his teammate, Kevin Durant, KD, the Slim Reaper, he is defending the honor of his buddy Kyrie. He was asked about the crowd affecting Kyrie Irving. And let's go back to the audio tape again. Here is Kevin Durant asked about that, and listen to him just dismiss the whole idea.
I don't think he worries about it. I think he just plays his game and, do what's required out there tonight. The shot making, just controlling the game for us was incredible, and that's what we're going to need going forward. So no matter where he's at, I think he's the same player.
The same player. Well, that's not true. You lied. He's not. And not the same. The fact that Irving whined about it after the game, that is a feather in the cap of the fan. And this is going to provide chow. It's a nice meal to the monsters. And what is the first rule when you're dealing with the critic, when you're dealing with the heckler? You don't feed the monsters, because if you feed the monsters, you just make more monsters. That's all. You create more. Monster, monster, monster! Attack! Attack! They're attacking Kyrie. So this is empowering to the heckler. I love it. I am a big advocate. We've supported the heckle for a long time. And you now know that this is a legitimate inconvenience to Kyrie Irving. He'll be fine, whether it's 60,000 or more, who knows what. But whatever it is, it's nothing. It's chump change for a guy like Kyrie to give the bird multiple times and use potty mouth and all that. I mean, that's fine. But truth be told, Kyrie Irving relishes this. He hates it and loves it at the same time, being public enemy number one. The scoundrel of the NBA. Vince McMahon, the master for professional wrestling, creating many a villain. But Kyrie's right in that grumpy, angry villain category to infinity and beyond for Kyrie. But you do need the protagonist and the antagonist. It's great content for the NBA that Kyrie is being the you-know-what in this little story. All right, now part B. Is it true that Kyrie Irving is the ultimate phony tough guy in the modern NBA? I would say correctamundo to that. Now, why? Let me explain. It's very simple. So Kyrie, we played the soundbite. He's egging on the hecklers. And he says he looks him in the eye and see if they're legit. Kyrie essentially calling the Boston fan a coward because they won't fight him. That's what he said, right? I'm paraphrasing, but that's what Kyrie said. He implied that he challenges the hecklers to see if they'll actually do something. So, of course, we know what happens. What happens if some wackadoodle says, okay, Kyrie, I got bigger balls than you. I'm going to run out in the court, and let's throw it down. Well, whoever that person is would be a lunatic, and a gang of people would come over and tackle, a gang tackle, by NBA security goons. The person will be hogtied, taken off the court in handcuffs, and a bunch of think pieces will be written about, I can't believe this is terrible, blah, blah, blah. And so that makes you a fake tough guy. Kyrie Irving loves to float on the intertube, on the lazy river of victimhood. He enjoys that. It's always something. The persecution complex. Woe is me! The fans are heckling! Like Kyrie's the first guy to be heckled in NBA history. It's a sob story. It's a Greek tragedy. And the older generation who grew up in the old country before social media, they roll their eyes and laugh at Kyrie. Shaquille O'Neal, Charles Barkley, guys like that. And they had plenty of hecklers in their day, but he's got the DNA of a chronic complainer. Kyrie Irving, he is a guy who's got maximum power on the court, and he just has no accountability. It's always somebody else's fault. For over 100 years, well over 100 years, in American sport, we have set this up where the fans pay money, and some of them, very small percentage, most people don't do this. Most people just sit there and watch the game and cheer. We've all been to games over the years where there's a certain percentage of people that are there to raise a ruckus, to heckle, the art of heckling. It's part of the real estate in any of these big sports. And Kyrie Irving complaining that the NBA players are expected to be docile and humble and take a humble approach. Yes, that's part of the deal. That you're the bigger person. That you're more important than those other people. They're there to watch you. You're not there to watch them. But Kyrie, no. Kyrie would rather follow the eye for an eye strategy. He's been contaminated with that. He thinks he's competing with the fan, which is a fascinating dynamic, the neurosis of Kyrie Irving, that he believes he's in a competition with a guy who's had 17 beers and 12 hot dogs and a couple of plates of nachos, and he's out there to take on that guy. What a jabroni. And Kyrie is making $35 million. The fan is paying anywhere from $300, $500, $1,000. I don't know how much these tickets down low are these days for an NBA game, but they're on an even playing field in the eyes of Kyrie. That's telling. Also, somebody explain this to me. I'm not that bright. Now, last week was the start of Ramadan, and Kyrie Irving is fasting. He's taking part in that. And I read several stories that said that part, and I don't understand, so maybe you can explain it, but part of Ramadan is you are supposed to be nice to others while fasting. That's part of it. I don't know. It's just me. But I think Kyrie might have gone off the wagon on that one. Just a little bit. Just a wee bit off the wagon. Dropped the ball there. All right, last word here. So as for the meat and potatoes, the Nets lose game one in Boston. Better story there. What is Brooklyn's level of concern on the MALLER scale of panic? Losing game one of the opening round series, 1 to 10 on the MALLER scale of panic, with 10 being basketball Armageddon. The MALLER scale of panic for the Nets is 2. I'm at a 2 for the Nets. And we know things don't start getting bleak until Kevin Durant and friends lose a game at home. Just like in tennis, all the Celtics did so far is ultimately hold serve, as they say in tennis. The Nets are still at love. They're not feeling the love, even though they don't have that. When the Celtics win in Brooklyn or the Nets win in Boston, then we can revisit this, but it'll be a whole different ballgame. But all things considered, the Nets played a B game. They still had the lead late in the game. Kevin Durant shot 2 of 10 in the first half. Brooklyn was down by 15. They whittled away at the lead. They took the lead. And then the Nets had one of the great defensive meltdowns you will see. A bitter pill to swallow. But that was like the Keystone Cops, the Nets on defense. And it was great offensive play by the Celtics, but Jaylen Brown passed to Marcus Smart. That head fake put Nick Claxton and Bruce Brown on pogo sticks as they jumped out at Marcus Smart thinking he was going to shoot a three-pointer. And then you can combine that. We had Kevin Durant, who was in no man's land, just kind of at the top of the key, la, 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 la. And then the cherry on top, Kyrie, who everyone will overlook this. They will say this is not a thing, but it is. Kyrie was on defense, and he was spinning around like a dreidel as Jason Tatum went past him. He was AWOL on defense, Kyrie, and that allowed Tatum there the layup to win the game as Tatum pops his cherry. First game winner, we are told, in a playoff or any game for Jason Tatum. So it's back to the drawing board for the Nets, but a good start. Only one of the games was that good, and that was it. It was the Nets and the Celtics.